begin tonight with an environmental mystery.
And debris along the beach as far as the eye can see. That's not what it is.
Lawns, on top of
A large fish kill has struck along the shoreline of the Sebastian Inlet State Park. Tell us that there were up to
She captured reams of dead fish rolling on shore and piling up.
Fisheries
Staff are baffled at what caused these hundreds of dead fish in the Guam.
5,000 blackbirds fell within a 1-mile area.
Roughly 2 million of one particular species died. So 2 million fish here along Chesapeake Bay.
Thousands of birds
Dead in the park.
Investigation is ongoing.
He got me up 4 o'clock in the morning and told me he had birds falling out of the sky.
Scientists don't know what killed them.
What I love about horror films is not so much the scares, and they're great, the thrill, special effects. What I really like about horror film is the ideas. Horror is one of those genres that allows the exploration of ideas, and sometimes intertwined with kind of crazy conceits, but it talks about things. And the horror audience as well is a very forgiving audience. Many people who are into horror will watch a horror film because it's a horror film. They're not watching it because of the stars or anything else. They will just go to watch a film, and some are there just for the scare, but some of them, like me, are there for the idea. And so it is with this movie from 2012, a sort of unloved, underappreciated movie. This is a horror movie from a director you wouldn't expect. This is a taunt, sharp, gross, sparkling horror film that touches on the ecological disasters that's facing us now, global warming, pollution, the spread of disease, contagion, isolation, the inability of governments to act properly. All of this is discovered and discussed in this movie, and perhaps it's a bit too on the nose for now, but perhaps now is the time to watch it. I'm talking about 2012's The Bay by Barry Levinson, and you should watch this.
Whose house this is? I mean, is...
No, what the hell is he doing, Lee?
Oh, wait a minute. That's Jim.
What's wrong?
What's wrong with him? He looks like he's done something.
He's drunk.
He's got his gun out.
Go away.
What's the matter, Jim? Come here, buddy. Come here. Something's wrong with this thing. Oh, God, he's got...
Go away!
Jim!
Go away!
Come on, Jim. Just chill out, buddy.
Let's go!
Come on. Come on and get in the back of the car. Get in the back of the car, Jim. I'll take you to the hospital. Let's go. We'll take you somewhere. Come on, bud. Don't let me lose you, Jim. Come on now.
We're all going to die.
Oh, God.
I don't want to die like
It's okay, buddy. I'm coming to get you.
No, Lee,
No.
let him go. Lee.
No. We got to get him somewhere.
Lee,
You stay
for
here.
God's sake.
Jim.
Eating my flesh.
Jim, buddy, let's get in the car.
Everybody's
Let's go somewhere.
We're all
Come on.
gonna die.
Come on. Hey, what's
You
your
shouldn't
name?
have to die like this.
Huh? No, you're not going to die. Nobody's going to die. Get in the car. I can't.
You don't have to die like
I
this,
can't
sir.
touch you, but come on and get in the car. No, Jim, now wait a minute. No, deputy, put that gun down.
Barry Levinson is not a director you would normally associate with horror. In fact, before this, I can't think of anything that he's done. This is a director of Diner, The Natural, Good Morning Vietnam, Bugsy, Wag the Dog. He won an Academy Award for Rain Man, which also won an Academy Award for Best Picture. Not the man you would expect to be doing horror films. And I doubt he was expecting to do a horror film. He was initially approached to direct or to produce a documentary based on the problems in the Chesapeake Bay area. This is a bay that is notoriously polluted and fucked over by governments and local governments and federal governments and people in general. This bay is a polluted, disgusting mess. And he wanted to explore this in a documentary format. But upon research and looking into the project, he found that Frontline had already done a very good documentary on it and felt like there wasn't much more he could add to the project. However, he felt that he didn't want to let it go. So much research had been done into this, and he felt it was such an important story that he thought, well, let's turn it into a narrative. And turn into a horror film, it became just by its very nature. The movie opens with images from Chesapeake Bay and various disasters around the world, illustrating the problems facing this planet. One of pollution, one of contamination, one of an outright denial by the authorities, by people in power to solve these problems. A young cub reporter played by Kether Donohue is speaking to us, the audience, to perhaps the director in a faux documentary style. She's communicating through Skype, explaining what happened on the day where she started off as a cub reporter and ended up being a journalist on the run. Through her discussion and through clips gleaned from CCTV cameras and people's digital cameras, their phones, FaceTime conversations, footage from the front of police cars, all of this is melded together with this lady's story of what happened on that day. And what happened was, two marine biologists are exploring the bay, trying to find out why the Chesapeake Bay is so polluted and what's causing trouble. They bring up some fish and start examining them, performing an autopsy to find out that isopods, these little horrible creatures that normally only exist in the South Pacific in very small sizes, feed on the insides, eating their way out on the gills, etc., have somehow migrated to the Chesapeake Bay, not only due to global warming, but these things have actually grown to a substantial size, many times the size of their normal existence. There is runoff from a local chicken farm that's using growth enhancing hormones to accelerate the production of chickens. There is a nuclear runoff. There is all sorts of stuff running into here and that. Global warming, these isopods, this confluence of situations has come together to create a nasty, toxic environment where these bugs are growing at an exponential rate. And because their larvae are so small, they're getting into the drinking water. Add to that the fact that people play and enjoy themselves in the Chesapeake Bay area, that these isopods are ending inside humans. And once inside humans, they're finding a new happy host to be in. And they're growing 8 to 10 times as much, 8 to 10 times as big. And what results is a horrific sequence of events, a day where people gathering in the Chesapeake Bay to celebrate the sunshine, celebrating pie-eating competitions, etc., have become infected by these bugs that are eating their way out of their hosts. And a handful of survivors have got to find a way out before, well, you're going to have to watch the film. This is just a wonderfully assembled film. There's clearly a masterful filmmaker here. A man who knows how to put together a good narrative and tell a good story. The fact that it's horrific is just because of its nature, as said before. The way that he has assembled the actors, no-name actors, no one you really notice, or at least at the time you wouldn't have noticed, adds to it. There's no sort of standout Tom Cruise here to throw you off. This is, and the performances are so real and believable that you feel in it. The fact that it's edited together by a team that normally edit documentaries, and this itself was a documentary, means that you can use archive footage along with the footage that is created specifically for the film, melding it together with fact and fantasy that creates something that feels really real. And it's not a surprise that Jason Blum had a hand in this. This is again Blumhouse coming up with a great idea and a great concept and executing it marvelously. I've said time and time again that Blumhouse tend to make sort of a crappy, schlocky, for your average audience film, and then goes off and does something very clever with a small budget. And boy, do they do it here. It's fantastic, to the point that I'm thinking that maybe Universal are going to get a little bit bored of me reviewing their films. I hope you don't. But this is a great film. It's feel like it's underappreciated. Not a lot of people have really seen it, or no one really talks about it, and there are very few films that these days scare me and creep me out quite the way that the Bay did, to the point that I was awake most of the night, drawing furiously, trying to take my mind off, because look at where we're at now. If you're watching this during the crisis, how quickly things can turn around, and how sluggish is authority in dealing with that, and how corrupt can they be as well. Bunch of liars that they are.
Hi, this is Steve Slattery over at Homeland Security. I just wanted to get back to you on that message about Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah, and?
Yeah, turns out we did hear something a few weeks back about a couple divers' bodies being found in the water. Natural Resource Police thought it was a bull shark bite, and they were getting ready to pull people out of the water and put up a shark alert, but medical examiner determined that it was not a shark bite at all.
What was it?
They weren't sure, so they sent the reports over to us, and then we sent them over to the Coast Guard, and they said it didn't make any sense to them, so then we sent it to FEMA, and they never responded, so I figured we'd send it to you.
Yeah, that's good. What did the report say?
Well, kind of strange stuff. It said the cause of death was undetermined due to a multiplicity of parasites and a variety of infections. Do you want a copy of this report?
Oh, yeah. You know, I mean, funny enough, I would love to see a copy of that report.
So let me get this straight. 2 divers are found with a bunch of holes in them, and all that we know is they're mysteriously being eaten by parasites and infections.
That's right.
Nobody knows what happened, and it takes 16 days to get this information to us?
Listen, we set up an incident center without cause, and we're in deep doo-doo here.
Really? Well, I've got a town full of dead bodies.
A small town. I think we need to keep this whole thing in perspective here.
What kind of perspective are you talking about?
Listen, it's not that easy to pull the trigger on something like this. We blow up a non-issue and shut down the entire Chesapeake Bay. I mean, we're talking about beaches, restaurants, vacation fishing. The public panics if word gets out that we're setting up an incident center about a spreading disease, or for a spreading disease. You don't just shut down the eastern seaboard without...
So this is sort of like I freaking love it. And I have just watched, or I've rewatched. I don't know what to call this. Maybe I should call this I freaking love this show. Maybe I would call it that, but may I recommend? I don't know. By the time I finish this video, I will have a title, obviously. And maybe I'm going to do more of these. In fact, there's a show I'm going to be talking about very recently, which I've just written about, Counterpart, which I'm going to be talking about. So maybe there'll be something like that. And it's nice to recommend stuff, even if it's like an old movie every now and again. It's really nice to sort of turn people onto new stuff, and I hope I can do more of this. Anyway, peace and love. I hope you're all keeping safe. And if you can, hit the subscribe, like and share and all that sort of stuff. Just help me out a little bit. I appreciate it. And all you guys that have helped me out so far, keep cool till after school. I hope Ollie Olsen's not rolling in his grave right now.